Hello everyone, my name is Marcus Stewart and welcome to a fresh episode of New Gameplay Today. And I am taking a look at Claire de Lune, a new game by Tactic Studios, and joining me is actually the founder of Tactic Studios, Jesse Attard. Hello, sir.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here.
Hey, so what can you tell us what's going on here? What's the rundown on Claire de Lune?
Claire de Lune is a science fiction first-person puzzle game that has a heavy platforming component, as well as a bunch of adventure game style puzzles, similar to the kinds of games you would have seen years ago, like the old LucasArts games or Sierra games from the 90s, but all done in a first-person style. And on top of that, it has a strong storyline component. So you're currently looking at Claire, who's your daughter, and you'll see we've got a fully animated, fully realized third-person character that you can interact with. And it's a story-driven game with a whole bunch of puzzles and a pretty interesting story to uncover as you play.
Nice. So you see here talking to Claire. I just made a dad joke, which is the route that I took for most of the answers here. I was either very sarcastic or very dad-like. As you hear, she does not want me to say it again. And I did.
That's the way to play the game, for sure.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, I am not a father myself. I know it seems like it, but, this is good training for that. So
no, it's the way to play. I've been watching some of the streamers who have an advanced key play the game, and I don't think I've seen anyone not pick the dad jokes yet. Although most people tend to be pretty nice and not sarcastic, and there's a lot of fun dialogue options if you pick the sarcastic route, for sure.
Okay, so I'm a jerk then, is what you're saying, because I picked all the sarcastic and somewhat mean routes, but not to my daughter, to our little AI Arturo. CC, we're going to talk to her. So this is kind of the calm before the storm here, because very shortly things are going to go a little bit sideways, but this is kind of like establishing John's relationship with Claire, because kind of the whole point of this game is that you're trying to find her, at least up to the point that I got to, and we're going to see kind of a montage of my game. But yeah, you're saying this is oh no, you're saying?
Well, just the setup is that, obviously, as you're about to see in the video here, you and Claire get separated, and ultimately you need to traverse the planet's surface to try and reunite with her. But truthfully, the story really is more about John's journey. You play as the character John, the father in this case, and it's more about his journey and his exploration and his relationship with his AI companion Arturo. I'd say that's the core of the game, for sure.
Okay. So you can see here, the proverbial crap has hit the fan. But she's still checking her phone, so that's a good sign.
He asked her to check her phone. She's checking true. For if the port Atrion compressor is loose again, I'm pretty sure.
That's true.
If my memory serves correctly about that dialogue line. Yeah.
I think she's tweeting this out. Just like, hey, we're about to crash.
You got to make sure your port Atrion compressors are not rattling when you have a ship. That's what she's doing.
That's good.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's neat with the sequence. I don't know if you can necessarily tell, but we made all these monitors and everything fully interactive. And if you're really, really careful, you can see the actual dialogue between John and Arturo is being printed on that screen there, word for word, even depending on what dialogue option you select. When he says cut thrusters on the screen, the thruster thing lowers. it has like accurate altitude information. We put a lot of detail into this game overall, and little things like that show up all over the place. It's pretty cool for people who like that sort of stuff.
That is a neat detail. I did not notice that, but I was looking at it as you were saying it, and I was like, oh yeah, it totally is.
Yeah. When he says they're out of fuel, you can see the fuel gauge is low and all that stuff. It's pretty neat. Doesn't do that through everything in the whole game, but where important, we tried to insert that stuff.
You all strapped in, Claire?
Yes. Dad.
So we're about to send Claire out of danger here. She's in an escape pod.
Oh my god.
Stay in the escape pod. Don't.
Yeah, so they separate here.
You're not coming with me?
She goes off in the escape pod, lands on the planet. and he tries to land the ship in her absence, with the idea being there that the escape pod is a much safer way to survive, and if he can't successfully land the ship, then at least she'll have survived on the escape pod on a habitable planet. But he's gonna do his best to save their livelihood,
Right.
in terms of the ship.
Some parents probably wish they could jettison their kids into the cold recesses of space.
No, that's not true.
That's not true. Hopefully not. Parents out there. So as you see here, we're trying to troubleshoot here. This is kind of leading up to some of the first bit of puzzle solving that's in the game. We're not
this opening section is just a prologue, really. It's just kind of introducing you to what's going on, and then exploring the universe, and there's more to do in the ship. There's a bunch of things that you can look at, like like mementos that they've kept. You can explore the ship and examine them, and John will give his opinion on the various things you're looking at, which is kind of cool. So yeah, there's a lot of that sort of story building, asynchronous story building, where you can explore the world and it teaches you more about it.
For sure. So then we get here to first kind of like memory kind of dream sequences. I've only run into 2 of them so far, but
yeah. So these are they're flashback sequences. Ostensibly, and they're, again, giving you a bit more exposition as to why John and Claire are where they are, kind of what's happened between them, and why are they on the run, who's coming after them. It's just giving a bit more context to some of this stuff.
Why didn't you think of us? Huh? Why not put us first?
Yeah, these continue throughout the game. There's not a ton of them, but there's enough to sort of explain the setup here and give some backstory and context. But the real gameplay, I would say, starts after the crash here. And
Churro, you there?
the opening section is a bunch of puzzles, really simple puzzles, just to tutorialize the system. And then once you get on the planet surface, it's a bunch of simple puzzles to introduce you to the nanogun, which is sort of the main utility item that lets you navigate around the surface.
right. It's actually gonna skip ahead here a little bit, just to kind of get to the planet, so to speak, and show off some of the nanogun gameplay. So, but yeah, like you were saying, this whole opening section, like simple puzzles that I had fun with. I was impressed with just the puzzle variety, even kind of the relatively short time that I played with the game. Like, I didn't really run into a puzzle. Like, none of them were identical, basically. So this,
we have like these sorts of puzzles where they're more like an inventory, fetch and retrieve puzzles. You have to repair the ship, and then there are mini games which are do duplicate eventually, but we have a lot of them. I think there's about 16 or so. I don't quite remember the exact number, but there's quite a bunch of mini game puzzles, and they're not so easy, and they're designed in such a way as to be meant to feel like you're actually doing the thing that's being done. So we have some programming ones where you do a little bit of programming that looks kind of like assembly code, and we have actual logic gate puzzles that engineers would have encountered if they ever took circuits in university and such. So we tried to make the mini games feel fresh, things you wouldn't have seen before, and then also be grounded to the reality of the fiction in the game.
So we're seeing here, this is kind of the intro to learning how to use the gun. As actually you're shooting, in the beginning you're shooting cubes that are used for traversal, and that's kind of the crux of the puzzle solving, at least in the first hour or so. Can you talk about how you decided on this sort of platforming puzzle solving mechanic?
Yeah. So the platforming sequences are predominantly using the nanogun. You do a little bit of jumping around too, so you have to have a certain amount of coordination. But The nanogun has 4 primary modes. One is to spawn a cube. The cube falls with gravity, so you can use it to break things. You can use it as a platform to stand up upon. And another is a booster, which lets you kind of get launched up into the air, like a little trampoline. Then you have the attractor and repulsor, which move the cube either away from a wall or towards a wall. And while it's doing that, you can stand on it. And with those 4 pretty basic mechanics, you can actually come up with a huge number of puzzles. From a design perspective, we wanted to come up with something that had that, texture to it, where you feel like it's a pretty simple, straightforward tool to use, but the environment is what actually makes the puzzles interesting to try and solve. You have to decide, well, how do I use, this nanogun to, traverse the area that you're encountering. So you would never be fighting with the tools, more so trying to figure out how to use those tools to get past the current area that you're stuck on. Oh, you're about to get eaten. Do you have to get out of this?
How did you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the first enemies you run into, and it kind of teaches you how to use the tools to kind of circumvent them, because they will end you very quickly if you're not careful.
We tried to make the game feel a little difficult. Like, we didn't want it to be blindingly easy. It's tough with puzzle games, right? Because for some people, if a puzzle is slightly too hard, people feel like, well, I never would have thought of that. And for other people, if it's slightly too easy, they're like, wow, this game's way too easy. It's hard to find a perfect balance with the puzzles, but we focus tested them pretty heavily and tried pretty hard to find them to be, to walk that thread of a puzzle that feels challenging without being too easy, without being too difficult. And the crabs are an example of that. Those like little spider crabs run around and try to eat you if you're not careful. And what we're currently looking at now is a plant that also, potentially could murder you. I don't know. Does it look dangerous to you?
Yeah, a little bit. It looked very pretty, and this is I wanted to show this because I thought it was a good example of how, like you said, the nanogun stuff seems simple on the surface, but the way that the game finds different uses for it, like using it there to distract them so that they attack the cubes so that you can, progress. And like seen before, how you can drop the cubes on top of the little spider guys to pin them down. I like that little part there where you have to kind of like time it perfectly to both distract the plant and jump on it to get to that higher platform. So like,
yeah,
I would say a lot of games about like, yeah, like a lot of environmental puzzle solving, like looking around, a lot of trial and error, like here.
I think you'll find though, any places that you're dying, and when I'm watching other people play and watching the streamers that have played the game, I don't think I've ever seen anyone like unable to pass an area. They might die 1 or 2 times, then they get the hang of it, and then once they figured it out, they're past it. And the crabs are probably people's first death in the game. Almost everyone gets eaten by a crab, but then they figure it out and get past it. And this area is no different. The acid's pretty unforgiving. You can't wade through the acid; it will kill you. But if you're careful, you'd be all right.
Yeah, seeing there to dropping the cubes to break the little vine holding that rock, and I like this little segment using it to
plug the waterfall.
Exactly, and you just kind of safely cross.
Yeah, and there's some things that you wouldn't have maybe considered as well, like for example, the those plants that you were distracting with the cube, you can use them to distract, or you can actually squish them with the cube. If you manage to get them up above, you can drop them on the plants.
Oh,
they're like these little geysers on the ground that like shoot acid up that you're trying to dodge. You can either just time them and try to get past them, or you can actually plug the geysers with the cube. So there's all these little you're dead there again.
Yeah, this is a montage of me trying to work through this little gap here. I was trying to figure out for a little while, like, okay, what is my approach supposed to be
you just
here?
didn't quite time your jump right.
Yeah, this is me trying all kinds of dumb things. Again, experimenting, seeing where I can place platforms and trying to map out a route in my head.
Yeah.
And eventually, yeah, I didn't want to spoil the solution to that, so I kind of you know, pull the finished product out of the oven, kind of cooking show style, so to speak. But you can see this is the crash site where Claire has landed, and this is actually where we're going to start to wind it down, because I kind of want to save the reveal of what, you know, the state of Claire. Is she inside? Is she not? Is she hurt? Is something else in there? Who knows? You're going to have to find out, dear viewers. So, Jared, thank you for sitting down with me, showing this game off. And when does it launch?
On Monday, so that'll be June 12th.
June 12th. On Steam and PC, as well as consoles, or just PC?
It's just PC. It'll be on Steam and also the Epic Games Store. And consoles are forthcoming.
Awesome. Alrighty, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like this video and the Game Informer YouTube channel. Be sure to check out our previous episodes of new gameplay today, and be sure to also visit GameInformer.com. We'll see you next time.